Okay, artist. So we're gonna get started with our still life with our charcoal still life drawing. Okay. So obviously, we're gonna use charcoal to create our still life. As you can see, the picture right there. That is the picture that we're going to be using as our reference for our still life today. Okay. So our tools for today are a charcoal stick, something that looks like this. I'll give this to you guys in class. Paper. Obviously, I'll give that to you guys in class as well. An eraser. Whatever eraser you have available, you can use a regular block eraser. I'm going to be using a gum eraser or a kneaded eraser, or you can just use the back of your pencil. Okay? So we're going to get started here. What I wanted to do was shoot obviously the still life in regular color, but to make it easier for you guys, I'm gonna send you the picture in an email or directly to your Google Classroom. So what I just did was I just made it into a black and white picture to kind of help you distinguish values as we go along with this drawing. Okay. Our process is going to be pretty much our line drawing we're going to do first. Then we're going to do our values, which is our shadows and our highlights. And then we're going to refine. My goal is not for you guys to try to copy it line for line, especially with the chalice is very ornate. What I want you to do is try to make sure that you put the values in the right place. Make sure that you're trying to get as close to the items as possible. And then I'm going to show you a couple little tricks to do abstractions to make those very ornate things kind of look like something, but you know, if you really get close, it's very abstract. Okay? So we're going to get started. I want you guys not to be scared. Okay? Remember, the most important thing in my class is just effort. Okay? So first, we're going to start with just some marks on the paper, okay? So our main focal point, if you look, it's kind of our chalice is our highest point, and then it just kind of goes in a flowing motion over to the book. But I want to just put a line on the paper to see where I'm going to go with the drawing, okay? So I'm going to first start something like here. Might be too far in. That's okay. I'm going to put that there. And then we're going to put one right over here. Just to kind of give us an idea of maybe how tall that cup might be. Okay. The grapes are around here. Okay. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just fill in the cup. Okay. Remember, simple shapes. So right there, we can see that there's a little bit of an opening for the cup up the top. We see that it comes down, wraps around right here. Okay. Remember, we're not looking for perfection, okay? All I want you to do is try. Okay, the cup comes down there. Then it has this ornate round part. Right now we're just gonna put in those shapes, okay? And then we know that it comes down this way. Actually, let me bring it out a little bit more that way, and then down a little bit thicker there, and it comes out. Okay, all right, so I think that's a pretty good spot for the chalice. Now we're gonna put in just just kind of idea where the grapes might be. So right here, let's see. So I can see that the stem here is right around here. And the stem comes down this way. It goes kind of across and then there. Then the stem comes here. And then for the grapes, I'm just gonna group them now in a big shape. And then later, we will worry about doing our individual grapes. But right now, I'm just trying to put in the shapes more or less. Okay, so that's pretty much where our grapes are. I'm gonna put in this bread that's on this side. As you can see, most of the items here, or actually not most, all of the items here have some Catholic symbolism. And we're going to talk about that in class. Okay? So right now I'm not going to talk about those because I want to hear what you guys think about the symbolisms, and we'll go and review those things. For my virtual students, okay? You guys, I probably explained this in class before we started, but just in case, you guys can be doing this in pencil, okay? You guys are able to do this in pencil, so don't be scared to do this in pencil. It's going to be fine. You're not going to get those great blacks that you can get from the charcoal, but same things, the way that we fill in the values and all those things, you'll be able to do well. So the bread, as you can see, I just kind of did the oval shape here. Okay. And then I see that the line goes back a little bit. Okay. Right there. And then I just kind of went back here. And I noticed now a little bit that that bread stops under the little shape here that we have from the goblet. So I might have to bring that down just a tiny bit. Just a little bit there. All right, gonna erase that part a little bit. Actually, give me 1 second here. I might actually take the corner of this paper down before it starts flying all over the place. Here we go. All right. So far right now we have our bread, we have our chalice, we have our shape of our grapes. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little trick. Okay, so there's a thing called comparative measurements. And all we're doing is we're using an item to measure something on our drawing that we have in already. And then we try to compare that same measurement somewhere else to try to give us a landmark. So you can use your charcoal stick. You can use I have paintbrushes around here, but for some reason not anywhere I can see. But what you do is you come here and you measure. So the cup to the top of that stem of the grapes is about that long, right? So we want to measure something around here. So I can see that the beginning of the apple is almost the same distance. So you come here, the top of the cup to the top of the stem, kind of almost measures from the stem to the apple, or kind of almost the middle of the apple, where the stem is. All right. So we have an idea of the distance. Okay. So that will help you figure out how far to do some of your items. So here we go. So that's our top. I swing it around and somewhere around there. So I see that my grapes might have come out a little bit. So that's all right. Okay, that's why we measure a little bit. But again, I am not as concerned about you guys trying to copy this perfectly. I do want you to try to put the items where they go, but I'm not looking for a perfect representation of that picture. What I am looking for is for you to try your best to draw it in the best you can and to put good values, okay? So when we do our bread, want to make sure that you put the midtones in the right place, your highlights in the right place, and your shadows where they go. Okay, so I'm going to start with the book here because I know this is more or less where the apple core might be. I can actually put a little bit of a circle here for the apple just to give me an idea. Okay, so let me see here. So that goes here. The apple should not be over that. So right around there would be the apple. more or less, okay? Again, we're not looking for perfection. What I'm looking for is for you guys to do your best and give me the best representation that you can. So now the book comes this way. All right. I might have done the picture a little bit low, and the book might come off the paper, but that is okay. Okay? That is perfectly okay. All right. So right there. Bring it over here. So the apple kind of cuts the book right there. We can round that out. Bring it out. Right around there. You would have your pages. And then it comes here to there. Okay? Okay? So far, so good. We're going to bring, so this one comes here. This goes up here. And, okay. Okay. So here, let's bring this part up here and show where our book is right there. Okay, when you put in your values, you're gonna notice that a lot of things change and look a lot better. Okay. All right. So far, we got our line drawing more or less in there. Okay. So we have our bread more or less in the right place. I might actually have to bring up that cup just a tiny bit. I feel like it's a little bit too close to everything. If you see here, there's a nice distance. This is too close. And I might have put everything just a little bit too close in, but that's okay. Okay? That's all right. I didn't measure as much as I should have, but again, we're just trying to get items in there as best as we can. All right? Okay. So now, I'm going to try to get this cup. Actually, I'm going to bring it up just a tiny bit. I do feel it's a little bit too low. And that's okay if it doesn't lift all the way when you erase it. All right. Not a big deal. All right, so I'm going to bring that cup just a tiny bit. I'll bring it up here. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. If you like where your cup is and you feel like you can do it from there, then you can leave it right where it is. Not a problem. Okay? So right there. Let's bring that here a little bit. Bring this down. Okay. Okay. So that's pretty much where we're going to have our line drawing. Okay. For the grapes, a trick or a secret is don't draw every single grape. Okay. Try to give it the idea that it's a vine of grapes, but you don't have to draw every single grape. Okay. So I'm just going to have an idea of one grape there. That grape is being overlapped. I will look at my reference to get ideas of where the grapes might be. Okay. But again, there's an artist that I like. I've talked about him in classes before, Aaron Blaise, who always says to never be a slave to your reference. Okay. And that just means that you can put in a little bit of your own interpretation in it. Okay? You don't have to do everything exactly to your reference. Of course, use it. Okay? Especially in our case, we're trying to learn concepts. You can go ahead and try your best. okay? But if a line is not in the right place, or you feel like your grapes aren't perfect, don't worry about it, okay? Just go ahead and just draw. Do your best, okay? So this grape over here is overlapping that one. I'm gonna put this one in already here, okay? Right there. We got another one up here somewhere. Maybe here. I think right there. Okay. All right. It looks like a mess right now, but don't worry. We're going to fix that. All right. So now I'm going to draw in the vines a little bit, just to give us an idea. Okay. And that's pretty good for now. So that is going to be our line drawing. Okay. Actually, let me fill in this apple here. Okay. Again, I noticed that this distance is much closer than in the reference. Okay. I can tell that my book is probably a tiny bit too big. Let me see. Let me just measure here really quickly just to get an idea. Okay. So my goblet here. No, it's not too bad. Okay. So right there, we're going to do that. This book would actually be coming up here and then down the cover here. Okay. And then your pages are going to be there. This line right here comes on an angle. And there you go. Okay. So now we're going to put in some of our values, okay? Try to get this looking, actually that's the apple, my apologies. So right here, I'm going to put in the apple there. Okay, right there. The apple starts swinging up as it gets to the end of the page there. Okay, comes out. And this goes up and then comes down. And then right here would be where your core, where your stem would be. Your stem comes out. Okay? There you go. So that is our line drawing. So now what we can do is we can start refining a little bit. Okay? So I'm going to make this line a little bit better. The charcoal sticks are not going to have a perfect point, okay? So we could go in with sandpaper and stuff like that to get a better point, but it would take too long and our classes don't allow for that kind of time. So don't worry. I know it's a little bit of a blunt point, but you can still draw with it, okay? And the concepts are still the same, okay? So here we go. So we're going to refine this a little bit. I'm going to refine those shapes. Okay, so I know that that goblet is a little bit round there. Okay, we're coming down this way. We're coming down this way. And I know right here, you can see that this has a little bit of that ornate section. So we're going to put that in. Okay, so it goes up, and it comes this way. Okay, this probably could go up a little bit. Okay, and then this section here, you can kick it out a little bit. Right there and right there. Don't worry about that middle section right now. Okay, so again, we have certain sections here. With the tools that we have, it's a little bit rough to get those perfect edges, but just do your best, okay? And then here we have our kind of our circle ornate section there. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side, okay? All right, so in the middle, don't worry about that yet. We're just trying to refine this line drawing. Okay, so right here, I have a part that's out like that, part that's out like that. Okay, right here, these are kind of squarish in this section here. Kind of, you can go down, across, and out. And then you can just kind of represent sections that come out there. And then you can just kick that out the bottom. All right. We're just refining the line drawing, okay? So the bread, we can see that it's comes up a little bit and comes out, comes down, goes around, comes back up. Okay? Then we can see that it goes back, comes over, okay, comes almost to the front of that bread, and then you have this kind of roundish part that comes over like that. Okay? Our grapes, you can kind of refine them a little bit. Maybe make them a little bit darker just so they can be seen. There you go. As you keep drawing, you'll feel more confident. Okay? All right, with every mark you make, you get more and more confident. Okay? Sorry if that's whew. Okay, so there you go. Okay, and then this is our vine right here. And the vine, we're going to really be able to define it once we make some little marks and erasers with our eraser. Okay. Okay. So now our book, or our Bible, my apologies, it's actually the Bible that I have here that's pictured. Okay, just kind of refine those shapes. So the book folds here, obviously folds here, comes down, and then goes across. Okay. Same thing here. Actually, it goes up and down this way. The shadow on the bottom is actually what makes it look like it's a little bit bigger. All right, right here, that shadow. But the book cover is actually going this way. Okay. And then we have our pages that are here. I kind of made this a little bit smaller just so it stayed on the page. Okay, I made a little bit of a change from the reference. All right, that's why it looks a little bit shorter. But again, you can make your changes as long as you're staying true to the reference in the sense that you're putting objects more or less where they go. Okay, you'll be fine. Okay, you know, if you start trying to put the book over the cup, then that wouldn't make sense because that's not close to the reference. Okay. All right, so here. Okay. So right there we have a nice refined line drawing. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in our values. Okay. So our values are a color's light or dark. So value is how dark or light a color is. Okay, so now we're gonna put in those values on the objects. We're gonna do the shadows now as we're doing our values, because I know the cups of shadow is right over here, the breads is over here, the apples is right there. So we're gonna do the values now as we go along. So first we're gonna start with the bread, okay? So I can see right here that this is probably our darkest shadow on the bread itself, okay? So right there, I'm gonna start with a nice, not super dark, but a nice darker value. I can see back here as the bread goes further back, that does get a little bit darker. So I'm gonna put in that value, okay? And as we go over the bread, we can see that the values change. The back is still a little bit darker than the front is. So I'm gonna draw it in that way. Okay, right there. And then the bread itself, you can just make little marks. They don't have to be exact, but just to give the idea that it is a piece of bread. Okay, just random little shades. If you want, you can come right this way here, kind of follow that shape over. Okay. And again, I'm just gonna put in the main values because the refinement section is gonna be later, okay? So right now we just wanna put in our major values. Okay, so now I'm gonna put in the shadow. So I can see that the shadow is over here, kicks out, and then comes down the bread till around here. Okay, looks a little bit like that. Right there. I'm gonna fill that in. Remember, this is our darkest color because the object is blocking the light. So this would be, as we talked about, your cast shadow. So right there you have your cast shadow of the bread. Okay? Now we're gonna move on to the grapes. Okay, I kind of just want to start with those. The cup is a reflective surface, so it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, so with the grapes, just try to follow the light. Okay, so wherever the highlight is on those grapes, those are gonna be your midtones around that highlight, and then they would go back to your shadow. So this one right here, this is the darkest part. As I go around, it lines up. And then I have a nice highlight in the middle. Okay, you can use your blender tool, which I'm just going to use a paper towel. Okay, and you can see, I'll show you with the bread, how just blending these charcoals kind of gives you a little bit nicer texture, tone, blends in all those sections, makes it look just a tiny bit better. Okay, and I'm doing that in the front of the bread because I'm going to lift some of those shadows. All right, so you'll keep going with the grapes as you go along. So this, I'm just gonna do it quickly. Okay, I know more or less where these grapes would be, how the shadows would be hitting it. So I'm just gonna do this as quick as I can. If you feel like you're falling behind at any point, you can absolutely pause the video. Okay, you can pause the video, try to catch up. Again, you just saw me using my finger. You can absolutely do that. Okay, it might even be a little bit faster than trying to use the paper towel. I'm getting those filled in really, really quickly. All right, I'm trying to keep this video to about less than an hour. Okay, The refinement section, I'm actually probably going to leave it up to you guys, okay? And the reason being is because I want you to interpret these items and do your best to put in whatever details you want, okay? I just want to make sure that I get the major sections in for you so you guys can learn how to do your values, your line drawing. But the refinement section is up to you, and that's where you can get those extra credit points. Okay? Remember what I said. My most important aspect of my class is your effort. You give me effort, and I will give you a good grade. If you don't give me that much effort, then I can't help you. Okay, so make sure you're getting those grapes filled in. Okay, I'm doing it really, really quickly because I'm just trying to get to the next section here. Right here, you can tell that that is shadows right back there. The grapes are blocking the light. Okay, and there might be some other grapes back there, but those grapes would be in shadow because the other grapes are blocking the light. Okay, so there, I think that's pretty good. Maybe let's put one in here somewhere, kind of in shadow. There, it got blocked from the light. Okay, and I know that the cup is back here. Okay, but we're gonna keep that section in shadow a little bit. Okay, because I want to kick out these grapes just a tiny bit. And same thing here, okay? So right there we have our grapes almost filled in. So now I'm gonna use my kneaded eraser. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna use the pencil eraser just so you guys can see that you can just put in your highlights with just a simple eraser, okay? All right, so this is not the best eraser in the world, but I do want to show you that you can use anything. Okay, don't be limited by supplies. Okay, your supplies should not limit you from doing art. Use whatever you have, and you'll be better for it. Okay, so there we go. So now we got grapes, we got a bread. Now we're gonna move on to our apple. Okay. All right, and later I'm gonna show you kind of, once we finish our main objects, I'll do the line in the back kind of where the reference is, and then we'll shade in a little bit. And then obviously the refinements, like I said, are up to you guys. Okay, so here we go. So now I know that right here, the light is coming from this side. So I know that this is my highlight, and this right here is being blocked by the shape of the apple because the apple is rounding that way. So right there, I know that's my darkest section. So I'm gonna put that dark core section right in there. Again, don't be perfect with it. Just try to put it in. Okay, I want to make sure that you guys understand that I'm not looking for it to be perfect. Okay, my drawing is not a perfect representation of the reference, but I'm using the reference and I'm moving things around to either fit what I need or just fit the paper. Okay, so just don't be limited by things and be scared about it not looking the way that it should. Okay, all right, so right here I know that this is going down. Right here I know this line right here is kind of almost our little darkest part there. Okay, now the cool part about the apple is that it's a reflective surface. Okay, so right here, the apple, as we talked about in class, you have your highlight, your midtones, your core shadow, but with this apple you have a big reflected light. Okay, because the light is hitting the book and reflecting that light into the apple. Okay, if you look close, you can see right here, you have kind of right here your core shadow, but then you have a big section of reflected light right there kind of going into your cast shadow. All right, so we're at 35 minutes. Kind of want to finish up as quick as possible. All right, so here we go. So now we're going to come here. And I know that's a reflected light, so I'm going to just fill it in very softly. Okay, and I see that I made a mistake with the shape of my apple. So I'll correct that. Right there. And I'll correct that. I'm going to put my cast shadow. To be honest, just because I kind of like how it looks there. And I just want to put it in right there. And then fill that cast shadow in with that dark. Okay. Notice how all your shadows are going to be pointing the same direction. Okay. Your shadow is going to pointing this way. Shadow's pointing that way. And then our cup is going to be that way. All right. Remember, the light is coming in one direction. The shadows would all be more or less going in the same direction. Okay. So right there. Excuse me. So I'm just going to fill in this apple with a very light tone. Okay, because I know that this apple has a little bit of that tone right there. And then I'm going to pull my highlights. But right here, I'm going to darken this up because I see that this part is a little bit darker as I go towards the highlight there. Okay. This part back here is just back right there. Okay. I'm going to blend all this in, kind of to bring it back a little bit. And then I'm going to put in my shadows again. That's a great way of really simply blending things in to make them look a little bit more realistic, okay? Once you put in your charcoal, sometimes if it doesn't, what you're doing with the charcoal is you're obviously putting this dust on the paper, and depending on how porous or textured your paper is, it might leave little white spots between your charcoal. So if you blend it in, it kind of takes away some of those spots. Okay, right up here, I can tell that is very, very dark value. Okay, as I go back, very dark. Again, as I go around this apple, my core is my darkest. And then I'm coming out here. Try to follow the shape of the apple. Okay? All right, so right there. Let's go out this way with that dark. All right. And I see that inside that core, or inside that part before the stem, it is really dark. So let's put that in there. Okay. And then I'm going to use my eraser. I actually have a little black eraser. I'm just going to use that to kind of bring a little bit of a highlight to kind of outline my stem. Okay. You can outline kind of that little highlight section there. That can be kind of where your stem is. Okay. Remember, don't be perfect with it. Just try to give that idea. Okay, and again, I'm going to bring in my highlights, which is right around here. Okay, the stem is there. My highlight is around there. And then it kind of fades that way. Okay. You have a little bit of a highlight up here. As you go around, there's another line there. Not too much. Okay. Okay, so there you have your apple. And again, As you notice, this part here is a little bit bigger than here. That's okay. We're gonna leave it like that. Okay. So there we have our apple. We have our cash shadow for our apple. The book, okay, you can see that the light hits it right around here, right there. So we're gonna leave that as white as possible, but the back of the book gets a little bit darker right there. Not much. Don't put too much. Okay. Same thing as we go down the inner part of the book. This part here would be a little bit in shadow because it's turning a little bit. Okay. Actually, I just noticed that the line of that book goes like that. You can always make corrections as you're going along your drawing. Always make corrections. Don't be scared to correct any issues. Okay? So here, my pages, notice that my angle's a little bit off. Okay? My pages are in shadow here a little bit, but they start going into the light as they come down. So just, you can do that. Put that in there. Okay. Obviously, this side right here is in shadow. It's a darker mid-tone. Okay. So right there. All right. And notice I've put my fingers all over the place. It's okay, all right? We're going to fill in some of this background anyways a little bit just to make things pop out and go further back. But don't be scared to make, little marks, mistakes. It's okay. I want you to have fun with this. Okay? I love this material. It's my favorite to use. I've shown you guys some of my drawings. Most of them are in charcoal. I just love using charcoal. Okay? All right. So there you go. So now we got our book. We got our apple. And right here, actually, we can kind of bring this highlight a little bit. You know what? Let's put a little bit of shadow here. Then let's erase it. So we can really bring out a nice little highlight there. Okay? All right. So I hope you guys are doing good so far. Remember, you can always pause this video wherever you may be having an issue. Okay? We're going to do the cup. The cup is a little complicated because it is a reflective surface, meaning the cup actually is reflecting things around. So not necessarily are the shadows coming from just the cup. They may be coming from an object that's outside of the cup or around the cup. But we're going to use those values, how they sit on the cup. So I'm going to make it bigger just so you guys can see. All right. So right here on the edge, we see that there's a dark value right there. So go ahead and put that in as you go into the ornate section there. We see up here too that there's another value that's dark. And I noticed that my cup is a little bit short. So I'm going to feel free to bring it up. Guys, this is a drawing on paper. Mistakes are not the end of the world. Okay? Okay, I'm going to see how it looks if I blend this in a little bit instead of having to erase it. It works. Okay? As one of my favorite artists also, Bob Ross, would say, you don't have mistakes, you have happy accidents. I know at this point a couple of you are probably going to look at me like if I'm crazy. But it's okay. All right, so here we go. So right here I see a dark shadow right there. going to put that in there. Okay. Inside the chalice. Okay, that's dark. Okay. Into a bit of a mid-tone there. This is a very high highlight right in there. So I'm going to leave that so I can erase and get a nice tone right there. Okay. So right in that section, I'm going to get my eraser and I'm going to bring out that highlight. Okay. You can take it out a little bit. Okay. That's okay if you can't get it white. Once you get that paper a little bit with charcoal, it's tough to raise it all the way up or the value all the way up, but that's okay. All right, so I can see that there's a little bit of a line here. All right, and then another one here, kind of at this place, this section right here. Okay, and that part is kind of a darker value. Not much darker, but it is a darker value in the mid-tones. Okay, and then here you have a nice highlight right there coming up. Sorry if my drawing is not as straight as possible. My camera setup is not the greatest right now. Hopefully, if you guys enjoy me doing the teachings this way, maybe I'll invest in a little bit better setup. As you could have seen from the beginning video, the way I put the light was on a ladder on top of one of my kids' tables. It was crazy, but it got the job done, which is what's important. All right, so right here we're gonna bring this highlight a little bit up, even though this is a mid-tone right here, a light mid-tone. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring it back and forth, okay? Try to bring it back and forth to where I think it's a good color. And then here, this has to be lightened up a lot more. Okay? Well, now I'm doing a little too much refinement, and I was gonna leave that up to you guys. So I'm gonna leave that section there, and you guys can keep going back and forth. Like as you saw, I was going in and out with the erasers and the charcoal just to try to bring out more of that value. Okay, I'm gonna come back with my charcoal a little bit just to bring a line right there. Okay, so now with the ornate section here. Okay, like I told you, what we're doing is not going to be exactly what's there. Okay, because one, the tools that we have, okay, won't allow us to kind of go in there with precision. Okay, if I show you some of my charcoal tools, okay, these are kind of the pencils that I normally use. Okay, you can put them to a nice fine point. Okay, I have these erasers that allow you to really get in there and get those highlights out. Okay, and maybe in the future we can get charcoal pencils, but these are really good for learning, and you can make really beautiful artwork with them. So there's no reason why we should not think that we can make some really cool stuff with this, but it is a little bit limiting when it comes to really fine points. Okay, so you can see like all these sections here, it's gonna be really hard to try to get all those details in, but we're gonna get the major ones in there. So right here we can see that this bottom part here kind of has little swoops, okay, that kind of follow these edges. So we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna come up here, then we're gonna come back down this way, and then we're gonna come back this way. Okay. Okay. If you want, you can kind of mix that in there a little bit, kind of to get you that nice tone right now. Then you can follow it again. Okay. And then I see that there's these little circles in the corners, in the little peaks here. So we're gonna do that. Okay. Okay, just the sections that we can to make it look like our reference, okay? So try to put a little circle in there, all right? And then on the inside, just go ahead and just do a couple of lines. Okay? And as you can see, okay, it's not a perfect representation of what is on the cup, but it does give an idea that it has some ornateness or some really beautiful figures right there. Okay, and same thing on the bottom. Okay, let's try to stay abstract. I see these kind of filigree or kind of some shapes there, so we're gonna try to copy those shapes as best we can. Comes here, then comes here, okay, like that, like that, okay, all right. It's gonna be really tough to try to copy this line for line, but again, just do your best, okay? Right here, I can tell that this is a mid-tone right here going in here. So let's shade that in a little bit. Okay. This goes down this way. Okay. And then you can go in with your eraser and then just pick out some highlights. Okay, from your reference, obviously. Pick out some highlights that can help you define the item a little bit better. Okay. This is kind of the refinement stage, but just to give you a little bit of a clue on how you can pull abstract shapes and kind of make it look like what you're trying to draw. Okay, so this is there. Okay, and for now, I think that's pretty good. Okay, you can go in there, push, and pull more of that cup, but I think for now, we are good there. Okay, here I noticed that I kind of brought this down a little bit too much and I lost part of this. Okay, so I have two options. One, erase to try to correct it, or just live with it. I'm gonna try to see if I can fix it a tiny bit. I'm just gonna pull this down a little bit. It's not going to be a perfect replica. But again, we're not looking for perfect. And then here, we're going to bring it out. And I think that is actually not too bad. Okay? So right there, we have our section there. And here we see that there's these little kind of I don't know how to explain it. It almost looks like bolts on the side here. Okay. And again, I'm not really trying to make it a perfect shape to the reference. Just trying to put in different shapes. And I can see that these lines kind of go in and out. Okay, again, do the best you can to replicate those lines. Okay, and I'm just gonna continue on here. Okay, I'm gonna kind of just mix that in there a little bit. And I know it looks like I just messed it up. Okay, but I'm just gonna pull these highlights a little bit. Okay, so the eraser's a little bit too fat, but we're gonna do what we gotta do and do the best we can. So right there, I'm gonna define these bolts again. Okay. All right. The smart thing would be to put a paper down as I'm putting my fists, but I'm just trying to show you guys really quickly just a representation of everything. Okay, so we're gonna keep that section like that. Okay, this bottom part would be a little bit more in shadow. Okay, and that's pretty good for what I'm looking for. Okay, again, I told you guys, the refinement is your section. Okay, I do want you to try to keep going as best you can, because I do want to share this with everyone. Okay, now the bread itself, you see that it has many different lines and shapes. Okay, but just try to kind of show a little bit of those cracks. Okay, I see that right back here. This is a little bit darker, and then this is a really bright section here. So we're gonna pump up that value there. Bring this down a little bit. All right, I like that. Okay, and then inside your bread, like I told you, just go in and bring out those highlights. Okay. So we have a pretty good drawing right there of kind of all the objects that we're trying to cover. Okay. All right. Again, I told you guys that what I was going to do for you was kind of give you guidance on getting to a certain point. But then I want you guys to go in there and really refine those sections, okay? I want you to really refine those highlights. I want you to really refine your values, okay? Okay. Like, we have many different ways of putting, like, the highlights on the grapes. If you have whiteout, you can literally just put little dots of whiteout in those sections, okay? We can really go in there with an eraser and really pull those highlights out. Okay. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can. Because this apple's highlight is really shiny. Kind of want to get that in there. Okay. Then. Okay. So now, what we're gonna do is, as you can see in our reference photo, the background is really dark. So our line for our back right here, where the background is actually just a curtain, okay, that's folded down. So it went down and then came out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do that line. Okay, so it's about around here. Okay. Again, if you have a ruler or something that is very straight, you can use that. If you don't, then just try to make the straightest line possible. Okay. I'm sorry if my line doesn't look very straight. I'm kind of looking at this in a little bit weird angle. Okay. Right there. Okay. So right there we have our line. As you can see from our reference, this part right here is very dark. Sorry about that. This part is very dark, right around our apple. So I'm going to do that. And why am I doing this? because it's going to make all these different values pop out more. Okay, so for a second I'm going to remove the iPad, and I'm just going to shade in this section that's really dark. Okay, and as you go on, it gets lighter, but right here, it's still a tiny bit dark. All right, so I'm gonna go up here, keep going, keep going. Try not to break your charcoal stick. I don't have very many. Okay. Really quickly, I just want to show you guys. Sorry about that. Sorry about the shaking. Okay. We're going to get all that dark, dark shadow in there as much as we can. Okay. Again, handy dandy. It's going to lighten it, but we'll be able to kind of maneuver it a little bit. And then we can just fill in this section here. All right, guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to tape that section down a little bit. It doesn't move while I'm trying to draw. Okay, so you can go in there. You can darken this section up again. And then you can bring these. This is a curtain, so you have folds. But I'm not really worried about you guys trying to copy folds. Okay. What I want you to do is just kind of bring in that dark tone or darker tone towards that background. Reason being is because also if the darker you make the background, the more those highlights are gonna pop out. Okay, so right there. Okay, so right there we have our nice backdrop. Okay, and then we can just kind of lightly shade the front because the front is being hit with light right here. So if you want, you can leave that section kind of almost in white. And then these backgrounds, you can put a little bit of gray in there. Oops, sorry. Let me put the reference photo back and put these sections. All right. Right there, we're going to do this part here as well. Ooh, I just realized I missed the shadow of the cup, okay? All right, I'm glad I noticed it now before I ended the video. So right here, we're going to follow the shape of that cup. So you can see where the ornate section is. That kind of goes this way and then comes up, and then where the cup is, we go like this, come this way, and then fall back that way. Okay, so go ahead and shade that section in right around that bread. Okay, if you want to soften that edge a little bit, just put your finger Okay, you can take your finger, go around here, or your, okay. All right, so the stem also has a little bit of highlights. So what you can do is just kind of where the lines are, just erase parts of them, okay? And then you can go back and just kind of redefine those stems, okay? Okay, and I think that's where I'm going to stop for you guys, okay? I think at this point, you guys should have a good understanding of where to place all these sections, all the items, the values, and then have a nice representation of the reference. Okay. Again, you can keep going with this. We can go this for a while. This might be a 2-week project. Okay, but I loved doing this. Okay, I love charcoal drawing. I love sharing with you guys. So hopefully you learned the values that we were talking about, your highlights, okay, your midtones, okay, your core shadows, your cast shadows, and especially with the apple, the reflected light, okay? Like right here, this is a little bit brighter because of that reflected light, okay? But I will be in class with you guys, my virtual students. I will be there to answer any of your questions. Okay, this is the end of the video, so you should have asked me those questions before, but that's okay. All right, so I hope you had fun. Hope you did your best, and I will see your projects at this point. All right, have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys in class.